Merry meet and welcome to Lux Dragon Queen Magic. I am Taylor and today is Witchy Wednesday. So today we're going to be getting in preparation for Imbolc. So for Imbolc, this is maybe not a holiday that everyone celebrates, but typically around this year we are still feeling the energies that are associated with Imbolc, and so we're really just going to explore that a little bit more today. So first thing I want to actually get started with is some candle magic. I'm actually going to be lighting this candle here. As you can see, I actually have already put some runes into the candle. I actually spelled out the word heal. This is one way that I like to do rune magic and spell work, and especially in combination with candle work, is to actually go ahead and write out a word using the runes as their alphabet. And then typically what we see is that they come together, much as any language, to form a spell. So with that being said, we have heal. So we have our H character, which really is bringing in everything that is going wrong, not really working for us, all of that like trouble that is just kind of in and around us. We bring that down to our E character, which is all about paying attention to our relationships and paying attention to what really our external world, what really makes sense for us and where our successes are. And then we have our A character, which brings out into our more personal internal world, being creativity, being more positive, and just being more uplifting in that. And then finally, we have the L, which for this is going to essentially round off the spell work itself. It's good for overcoming difficulties as well as bringing spirit into the situation. With that being said, let's go ahead, light this candle. So even if it doesn't burn all the way down during this video, we will keep it lit afterwards, and we're just sending out healing energy into the universe to really support the collective at this time and encourage us to rise up. That's why we have a red candle. Encourage us to rise up and embrace our passions. So with that, so right away, we're really seeing something about these candles. And a lot of charm candles, you'll find that they are made to be easy to light and to stay lit. And so sometimes that is something you need to keep in account when you're working with candle magic is how is the wick built? Because sometimes it's that and not you. Sorry. Anyways, for our story here today, really what I just saw is that it is showing me that these initiations that we're going through, these new beginnings that we're planning, and anything that deals with like creativity and expressing ourselves, we're really sensing a certain delay with this. And I actually will end up talking more about this when we start to encounter the new moon energy coming up, because it is a black moon this January. With that being said, so we really saw it start off small and just wait until it got to a more stable point next to the full candle and really closer to where, the flame is seen and where you would imagine it to be. That's when we really saw it take up its true flame and burst into the flame that we see now. And so I imagine it's probably going to stay pretty steady for like that for the rest of this reading, but we will see. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about kind of what I have set up here. So for Imbolc, you can just do some candle magic to really help support your intentions moving forward. You may choose to also celebrate the god and goddesses that are associated with the holiday. Today we do have Brigid here, who is the goddess most associated with this holiday, who I personally really like to connect with and provide offerings and just flow into her energies whenever I'm able. So for today, okay. First, I'm going to go ahead and just quickly go over the couple of offerings that I have on here. You actually may already recognize this. This is our little oat bar recipe that we made. It's still perfectly great with the energies of Imbolc, and especially the fact that Imbolc does work with elemental powers as well as fairies. So we're still seeing that oat bars and oats are still fantastical gifts and offerings to give to those energies that are supporting us in the universe and bringing us comfort at this time. And then I wanted to do an additional offering rather than just repeating offerings, and also to make it a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more accessible to those of us who maybe don't have that much time. And I actually went ahead and put coffee as well. So this coffee is just black. You can make a full cup as you would like and give the first sip to spirit. Really, anything that you put in your coffee, such as sugar and milk, will ultimately still support the energies of the god and goddess and who you are gifting this offering to and who you are thanking for the energies. Because I know most coffees, like, we have certain things that no longer are considered natural, but the whole point of it is that as long as your intention is going into it, that like this is a natural setting, a respectful meal that is energizing and pleasing to the energies around me and supporting. And most of the time, that also means it's something that can energetically support you as well. And so that's really something that we see too with Imbolc, is we are focusing on energies that build us up and rise us up. So coffee is one of the perfect things to do that. It's associated with fire, which we will get into the fact of, like, that is Brigid's whole thing. It is also, we have the caffeine, which is good for health and health and perking you up. And what more can we say about motivation and coffee, right? With that being said, the other thing I'm going to go ahead and do for today is that we're going to just read straight out of the Divine Feminine Oracle book, where we have this oracle card from, because it gives us a little bit of history into Brigid, as well as some more information and things that we can look into doing in order to connect to her energies more. So let's get started. So, Brigid, the goddess of the eternal flame. I am an eternal flame, and each day my light grows brighter. Who is she? Brigid represents the essence of an internal dawn. Of an inner dawn, and the healing that comes from knowing that the best is yet to come. Brigid is the goddess of pre-Christian Ireland. She is associated with the Indo-European dawn goddess and the coming of spring. She is celebrated in Celtic festival called Imbolc that takes place halfway between the winter and spring solstices. It is said that the moment between dusk and daybreak, Brigid arose into the sky with flames like rays of the sun blazing in her hair. There's a shine. Wow, we cannot read this morning. I apologize. We need coffee. There's a shrine near Kildare in Ireland that is sacred to the Druids, because it is believed to have been a place where Brigid's priestesses tended to her eternal flame. This is where they learned the ancient healing practices that are associated with Brigid. And this is where in 480 CE, Saint Brigid built a monastery in honor of the goddess and created a communal and consecrated center for women's religious life and learning. Brigid is associated with poetry and all things elevated, states of being, high rising flames, lofty dimensions, elevated wisdom. She is said to have created the whistle for calling out from one person to another while walking through the night, which lifts the wanderer with its levity and reminds her she's not alone. Okay, so when your soul selects her card, there's that moment when you're making your way through the dark, and suddenly, after what feels like days or months or even years, a ray of light comes through to you. A lightning happens. Each step isn't quite as hard to make as the one before, and you feel a great shift begin, as if now you're headed towards something new, something even brighter. Brigid is the essence of that first flame, that first ray of light. Brigid reminds us that the darkness never lasts. Brigid's internal flame represents the truth that the light never leaves us and can never be extinguished. It simply gets obscured or blocked from us. She reminds us that every day is actually filled with light. There are many days and times in our lives when we endure thick cloud cover, when that flame exists within us is blocked by pain or confusion. Brigid is the sweet sound that reaches us in the dark and reminds us that we have never been on this journey alone. Brigid is our sign that the dawn is here because we have made it through the dark winter. We can lift our head. The healing has happened, and now each day is bound to be brighter. All right, and then the soul voice meditation. What allows me to feel light more often every day? One more time. What allows me to feel light more often every day? And then the intention, which we also see on here, is I am an eternal flame, and each day my light grows brighter. So really we can see why she is the inspiration for Imbolc. Also, we can really see how she is affecting our energies right now during this time of year. there's a lot that can go into celebrating Imbolc. So we really saw about how it mentioned that just connecting with elevated wisdom, higher selves, that alone can support us in celebrating Imbolc. So if you have nothing else to do but meditate that day, there you go. And then in addition to that, the other thing that we see the fact that we can also use poetry. So maybe you haven't been feeling very creative in general. This might be the way to do it. You know, what's a fun poem style, and I apologize, I cannot think of what it's called, the actual style. But when you take a word or your name and you write a sentence or words that represent, are those just called anagrams? I'm pretty sure there's also a style of poetry that represents that kind of style, but the point is there's so many different ways that you can express yourself and call it poetry, and this is a great time to just explore that and just be yourself. So what is coming out from your soul center, right? And then that's really going to be a lot of things if you're just looking to connect with Brigid. But if you're looking to connect with the holiday as a whole, some other things that you can do is knot magic. We're not going to go into deep knot magic today, but I just dropped my booklet. But I did want to show you. So you can just take any string and you can just start making knots with it. See if I can do this on camera. But essentially you can take your string and then just pull it through with your finger in the center, and as you're thinking about what frustration is happening, and then tie your knot. And then as you go through that, you can do that until you have all of these knots, and then you can surrender it to. We are a chaotic mess this morning, guys. But point is, with that knot magic, you can go ahead and then surrender it over to the elementals. And so most naturally, especially with Imbolc and Brigid, we think of fire, and you can create a fire safely and throw your knots there to release anything that you really put into your knots. So we'll talk a lot more eventually about knot magic and how you can use it to really support your intentions, but really I just want to point out the fact that this is one thing that you can do this holiday. Also, you don't have to give it over to fire. As I mentioned, Imbolc is great for all elemental fairies and magic, so you are able to, if you are water elemental, tie up a paper towel into knots and then and then soak it with water in order to see how that starts to just like tear apart and unfold. Or maybe you're associated with wind and use scissors to bring essentially clarity and cut through those knots, right? So just be mindful about how you're doing your magic and what really is supporting you and your intentions. Especially with that being said, we saw that Imbolc is a good transitional time. So winter is already a good time to seek comfort. And naturally, that means we want to lean into healing moments that we can find. And Imbolc is kind of that initiation of that fire that we've been spending a lot of time reviewing. And now we're getting inspired again to start. So it's just the beginning, just the inklings, because technically the spring equinox is when we're going to really see our energies ramp up and want to bring things into anew. So one other very easy thing that you can do on Imbolc that is just a natural thing to support you and your energies is actually what I like to call winter cleaning. So everyone hears about spring cleaning and how when the new year comes, it's time to open up the doors and dust out everything and let in new air. Well, winter cleaning is when it's too cold to open up the windows and doors, so you're not trying to get your house incredibly dusty and make the air unbreathable, but you are trying to just clean up little spots here and there and look at where everything, and not necessarily go through everything, but be aware of where everything is and kind of notice like, oh, that's going to be like a problem area in the spring, but at least now I know so that I can better prepare myself and associate my time. So again, winter is just more preparation time for bringing newness into the spring and renewing what we want. And winter, Imbolc is a great time to take that pause and essentially you kind of have already figured out certain things that aren't working for you and you've started to get excited about some things that will. So this is a good time to recommit so that when spring comes, you can start new projects. All right, so that is going to be our Imbolc message for today. There's so much more that we definitely can talk about with everything that we kind of just lightly touched on today. And with that, I encourage you to go exploring anything that really stood out to you and step out into your brightest light and just follow your heart's desire. Yeah, I just can't stress enough how beautiful and bright everyone here is. So thank you for being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment below anything that really stood out to you. Let us know how you're celebrating Imbolc and maybe some other traditions that really are important for you for just this time of year. It doesn't have to be associated with Imbolc. But I thank you again, my witchlings, and you have a great day. Blessed be.